joinit.online.
Ahojte poslucháči, dneska sme tu opäť, hej, v podcaste Joiny. Troška špeciálnejšieho charakteru to bude, pretože o niekoľko sekúnd alebo minút prepneme do angličtiny, pretože tu máme vzácneho hostia, nášho kamaráta Valentína, ktorý je zo zahraničia a aj býva v zahraničí. Sú to dve rôzne zahraničia. Takže nebudem tu kvákať ďalej o nezmyselnostiach so I'm switching in English to English. Hi Vali, welcome to Johnny Podcast.
Hi guys, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's what we have thought that we will do much sooner, but it's now reality, so it's fine. Also, Junior is with us. Hi.
Yeah, hi. It was really hard to get you, right? We have to record at an ugly hour, right? Dusan probably had to wake up 3 hours earlier than regularly.
Yes. But now you can enjoy the sunlight a bit, and now you can have you can see the other side of the day, because if you only wake up at 6-7 o'clock in the evening, then you never see the sun, so it's okay.
Yeah, but for IT guys, I mean, it's
yes, it's
who needs
not
sun, right?
Yes, now we have to plaster a lot of cream on our face because yes.
Anyway, this was kind of a trap. We called you here just because last year we had a discussion and where you essentially sweared even, I would say, that we would go and eat some ribs.
Yes.
So now that million of people are listening here, can you tell me when this will happen?
I would have to ask ChatGPT to calculate my exact schedule and make it work with the stars, but I suspect somewhere around summer should be okay.
Summer, really?
Around
that's
summer.
Like,
so it.
Yes.
So
which summer? Is it this year?
So, if I would have to tell you now, I would say this summer, but I wouldn't put my life on it because it's complicated with this war in Ukraine and people getting sensitive about the economical situation and the kids. The kids are also like a major factor, right?
Right,
so
right.
If I would come now to you, you would get sick and die probably. But if I come in summer, the risks go down by like 50%. Okay.
But you already had COVID, right? So you
don't... sure. But it's like COVID and 99,000 other diseases which you can get from kindergarten.
But maybe maybe you can take a quarantine, right? Week before, to get ready to come here. Then you can take a quarantine day. Week after. So get ready, right? I mean, you have a lot of time.
So I can visit you guys with a hazmat suit and
take any measures you want, right? We don't care, but just come for food.
Yeah, but you need to come. That's the deal.
Thank you very much for the invite. I will try to come as soon as possible, and so I really mean it. But as I said, I can't really promise and not keep my promise, and this would suck. Yes. But thank you very much. And I'm sure that I will eat better ribs than 99% of the places which we have here, because somehow
you will come here and then we will go to Vienna then.
Yes.
No. I just want to clear up some misconception. You are thanking me for the invitation. No, you will pay, right?
No. If I come there, also without a disease, you have to pay for it, right?
Okay.
If I come sick, maybe I will pay for it.
So Dusan, can you please come also, because that rib place is kind of expensive.
Okay. I'm invited just right now. Okay, before I wasn't. I can say okay. So thank you, listeners. It was amazing podcast today.
So now I can't afford it anymore.
Okay, and Vali, are you busy at work?
Wow. Yes, I'm. So I'm much more busier than I was in my last role and my last company. So the idea is that it's really an interesting experience. although it's like a corporate environment and the whole, let's say, classical, the classical approach, processes, approvals and everything, I now have access and now I'm involved, let's say, in much more interesting projects. I see much more different, let's say, styles of approaching different problems, and also people. Yeah, I'm in contact with much more people than I was with Raya. So this is interesting. So to be honest, I can't. So the only downside would be from changing the job is that I don't have like free coffee. Other than this, there's only pluses, right? Like,
Come on.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I just heard that like last month or something that there are jobs where you don't get free
Yes.
coffee. I had a lot of jobs, right? And everywhere we had free coffee.
But it wasn't. It was actually like announced even as a benefit. Like this is some kind of a standard.
yes.
Yeah.
It's like we have air. We have air in your in the building,
Yes,
right?
yes,
You have air.
You can
So-
you
can breathe.
you can flush the toilet here for free,
Oh
right?
yeah. The coffee. Okay, that's because we must say that. Okay, Wally. As far as I know, you're now the cloud architect, right?
Yes.
So-
Well, like one of the
Of course.
architects.
I mean, this is a big company, obviously, and the one architect, yeah, it would be overhead quite a lot for
The one and
person.
only, right?
Yeah.
Hope. I can only hope.
So the further question, I mean, further in the topic would be,
Yes.
so how much are you in a team? Then in the architecting team.
So in the architecture team, so depends. Okay, let's take it like this. We have the department, of course, right? Where we have, I don't know, something like 40 people. Okay. All of them are architects.
What?
Okay, yes.
Cool.
And then we have the, let's say, cloud enablement team, which is smaller, and this has like
Okay, so actually architects.
10 people, let's say, okay, which are always on there. And then we have, of course, the project teams, which are bigger, and my project has like 20 people, which are always. So we are always working together.
I'm quite
20.
surprised about. I mean, yeah. I'm expecting that with such big architectural team, a lot of discussions has to going on.
Yes.
Yeah,
The,
because it's not. I mean, if you are a team, then you obviously are working together, right? I mean, this is not
Yes.
that there are 40 people and 40. Each guy has a separate project, but I mean, you're dealing with the project as a team, right?
Yes. The thing is that it's quite different from the point of view of work, let's say, compared to Dry.
Mhm.
It's that you have much more projects here. Much more. Okay, so much more. So a lot of tools, a lot of new projects, a lot of changes, a lot of different, let's say, topics than Dry. Dry is like a telecommunication provider, right? The focus is mostly on the telecom sector, and of course they are like a tech company, right? They are driven by technology more or less, so they can't really avoid it. But when it comes to something like Unica, it's different, right? Their main let's say purpose is not technology, right? It's insurances, right? So it's different, right? It's so okay.
Yeah.
So they use, of course, technology and everything, and they have all kind of fancy projects, but it's different, right? And it's interesting to work for a company which has a different, let's say, main scope, okay, main goal, right? So it's different because I only worked for companies which were like, well, I would lie a bit, but mostly I worked only for companies which were driven by technology and always in this race of let's see what's the new trend, what's the new tool, what's the new language, and so on, right?
Mhm,
So yeah,
mhm.
so it's different. It's also a bit something new. I'm trying to learn a lot, and of course I'm really like a beginner, let's say, when it comes to this role because I never had it before. So I'm trying to make the best out of it, to learn as much as possible, try to listen to people which are smart, and yeah, try to also learn the environment, the tools, it's something new, yeah.
A little bit info for the listeners, right? Dry is a telecommunication provider
Yes.
in Austria, where we
Yes.
all three of us work together. Yeah. And most of the
Yes.
people know Unica already, so that
Unica
needs
is
no introduction.
It's quite international, right? They have
Yeah.
a big presence all over Europe. I think they're quite yeah.
So that's a good question actually, right? Are you your area of interest in a cloud specifically, of course? Is it Austria only, or is it even abroad?
No, it's now it's different. Now it's pretty much a lot of countries, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's of course still let's say Austria to some extent, but it's much more different, right? Because at Dry you had this, let's say, localized setups and localized focus. Unica has a different, because it has a lot of countries, and of course you have this.
Yeah, exactly. That was I asking if this architectural team is it country based, or is it all is it EMEA or something like that, right? For Europe.
It's overall.
Okay, so, that's nice. So, it makes more sense that it's 40 people, right? Because I thought initially that this is just Austria, and I thought, wow, this is too much clouding.
No.
In the Unica.
So you also have this kind of roles also in the countries, yeah. So it's different also because we work also as a team. We have a international team. So when you have discussions and meetings, it's not like you're going to have only with the guys from local here, right? No, you have it from all over the world, right? So this is interesting, and this makes life a bit, let's say, spicy, right? Because you don't. You manage to see some other people, some other culture, and it sometimes brings good benefits. Yeah, I think it's a win, and I think it's also makes life a bit a bit interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, talking specifics, right? If we may, of course, because this might be. It's up to you whether you want or you don't want to, because it might be delicate to some extent for a company, but because I was the idea is how is it now with the clouds and everything, because obviously this is not new things to incorporate into companies, right? And I got this feeling a year or two ago that some companies I have been working with was like, okay, not that much into cloud anymore. Of course, this is not like go to the cloud or not go to the cloud, but a lot of companies are okay. Maybe hybrid would be nice. Maybe let's keep something on-prem because there are some problems. I can tell you an example that there was a. Are we going to be really calling, because they will sue me? But whatever. The non-Linux company that got big cloud, right? They were offering the SAP as an instance, right? And their plan was the customer plan was to extend it because there was not enough resources. So yeah, you just go to the control center, slide some sliders, and it should go, right? No, denied. No much resources, but they needed it. Okay, what now? And the representative of cloud company said, no, we have to wait for a week. And they, what? A week? Can't be. We just can't wait a week. And they recalculate stuff and they realize, okay, it's not that cheap anymore maybe for us. And it's not that there is, of course, the complexity with the network and security guidelines and so much on, right? And they realized, yeah, it's much more simpler if we run at least some of the infrastructure or applications on-prem, and so they did. How is it in your view? What's your view?
So in my corner of the world, let's say, it's different. So the cloud, let's say, journey is much more intensive. There's a huge demand for cloud, a huge need and wish for cloud. Totally different than Dry.
It was not Dry actually. This is a different customers. But it's not the only customer. I mean, okay, let's take a second view about the clouds. I see much more wider across the companies.
Mm-hmm. I'm comparing, let's say, to my experience from Drei, where when I was involved with the cloud topics there, that was a limited, let's say, scope to some extent, and the push was not that big, let's say, to a public cloud provider. Here it's totally different. Yeah, so there's a huge demand, a huge need, a huge wish to go to the cloud.
Why so huge? I mean, if you can say, I mean, what are the most significant drivers to go to the clouds?
The most significant ones would be the ease of deploying applications and bringing them live to customers, because somehow the on-premise ones and the processes which were, let's say, the legacy processes were slow, right? And people needed a long journey to end up putting this in production, right? And somehow the idea and the view and the vision for the cloud, let's say, is that this is going to make life much more easier and much more faster than the legacy approaches. Yeah, and for now it is, so it still is much more better compared to the old processes. Of course, there still is a lot to do, and yeah, until they really reach, let's say, some kind of stable point where you say, yes, this is where we want to be, you still have to invest a lot of work and money, right? And now, so to be honest, I think that also looking around, I think the idea changed a bit with the cloud. I believe now it's not really seen as a cheap alternative. I think now it's really seen as a enablement, let's say, alternative. Like, you can do this quite fast, quite let's say easy, without too much struggle, and that's it. Maybe it will cost a bit more, but you do it now and you do it fast and you do it without too much hustle, right? Even if you pay more for it. So this is what I get the feeling of the people looking like around this and so on. Yeah, so I'm not sure if this is still the case, or if this is really the case for all the projects and all the people, because I know you have some projects which have huge commitments to some cloud providers, and then of course they really get it cheap and all this stuff. But I think this is the way let's say the vision about the cloud is going to, right? To the, let's say, it's easy to go there, it's faster to deploy something, and it's much more feature rich than, let's say, compared to the on-premise one. It's not that cheap, but I can do much more faster, and that's it.
And that's changed, right? Because I remember that clouds were viewed as, okay, let's not use that much money on-prem services. Let's go to the cloud. We don't have to have the infrastructure team for premises, right? Yes. The cloud should be easy, and right, even if the initial investment is large, then in the long term we will get some gain there. But it turned out not to be that way, right? Clouds are still complicated. You still need an expertise to work in them, right? So yeah, that's something that I see that has changed, right? The clouds are right now. Clouds are, you get you have to pay more money, right? But you gain something from that. You have some value add there.
So obviously, this is a major point. I would say Vali can give us probably the even much more accurate view on that one, but I think this is the thing, that even spending much more, not much more, but more, but leveraging all the features which are already there, you don't need to think about them or even invent them in-house, and even processes and stuff. So I mean, this is something that obviously is a big win for companies. They don't need to care. We will pay you more for something, for some services, but we are not paying for development of tools and processes and whatever.
Yes.
So I think this is the breaking point for the companies, right?
Yeah, it's also like an easy playground. So you can also maybe view it like this, because it enables you to play around with like, let's say, trending technologies and trending stuff quite fast and easy, right? And on the chip side, let's say, because let's take the example of ChatGPT, right? Now there's this huge hype for AI, right? And Microsoft, for example, already has it integrated, and it's available in their cloud, right? So you can use all these AI features now directly from them. You don't have to buy fancy GPUs and expensive setups and build huge servers for playing around with something like big data or data models or whatever. Um, you can do it like now. You can do it now.
Yeah.
So if you want now, and the thing is that like Journer was also saying, because they don't really have experience doing it, right? You need to play around, right? Because okay, let's figure it out how it works. Let's see if it's interesting or not, if it's useful or not. And this costs money, right? So if you would build a big data cluster just for this, just for playing around, you would get fired like instantly,
I mean,
probably.
yeah, but I mean, we have to distinguish now. That's good, very good point. And I see exactly this approach on many companies. Small, I mean, doesn't care if you don't care if it's a big or the large one or a small one, but the test and development is done on clouds for sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because exactly this is the major point. You don't want to spend a cent on something that might be or might not be eventually in production later, because it might fail, and that's okay. Yes. The failure is one of the possible outcomes, right?
Yes.
But in production, that's a different question. Can you tell us about something like that? Because as an architect, maybe in an insurance company, as a unique case, you have to consider a lot of stuff, even law enforcement and stuff like that, right? Where you have to keep your data. Are they gonna be in the multiple sites? Are they gonna be replicated just? I don't know. Maybe you have to keep the data, customers' data, just in Europe because of the GDPR. I have no idea. But European customers in Europe. But what about the replication? What about the disaster recovery? Are they still in Europe? Are we breaking the law? Are we keeping the policies and stuff like that? And maybe this. So the production is different way. In production, you have to think different way. Is it the case?
Sure. Sure. It's quite different. So I end up always like doing some sort of comparison, because this is what I know, let's say, better than talking like out of the air, right? The idea is that from what I see for insurances and banking also sector, because they're quite similar, there's a huge amount of regulation, yeah. So, and this is enforced really hard, right? So you can't just go and say, yes, I will store my data here or there or wherever, right, on some FTP or whatever account. This will not work, okay?
Peer to peer, go peer to
peer. Just on Usenet, right? No, so it's really strict from the point of view of the, let's say, rules, because the regulations which are in place, if you don't follow them, you get huge fines, yeah, huge, really big fines, and nobody wants to not follow the regulations, because then they would end up into huge problems, and they just do it, yeah. So from what I can see, right, there's a strict follow of the rules and of the regulations, and security is really strict when it comes to implementing any kind of project. Much more different than the, let's say, past experiences. And you always have to get an approval from security for any kind of let's say project adventure which you have or want to do, right? So this is a huge difference for me, at least, because let's say I never met this kind of level, let's say, of regulation and enforcing, yeah. And yeah, this is something which you have to learn to work with. And of course, the environment is forcing you also to follow the rules much more strict than, let's say, to other companies where you can go like wild and let's do a POC here, do a POC there, let's pull the data from the production in the POC, let's expose the POC to the public internet and so on. No, this will not work. This will not work, and you will get, so the project would get killed instantly. Yeah?
So how is it, right? Because I assume you have to be PCI DSS, right? You have to have the certification, and I know, for example, that some clouds have some of those certification. Does it mean, for example, that if you are in Azure and the Azure has PCI DSS for their containers or whatever, right? Does it mean you can just, okay, let's just go there and I don't need to do a separate audit for that, or do you still need to do the audit?
You still need to do the audit, and not all projects are, let's say, movable to the cloud, right? So this this is not going to be like yes, we want in the cloud, let's do it, right? No, the thing is that sometimes you have such a tight integrations with systems which are still running on mainframes, or they have so there still is a huge amount of mainframes running, which are running really well. So don't get the impression that if they're mainframes, you're thinking old stuff. Okay,
no. That's I smile because it's a different, right? Normally mainframes are the top-notch systems. For performance, for durability, reliability, high availability and stuff, but there are not that much guys who actually knows how to work with them.
Okay. So the amount of mainframe is still high, and the projects which are running there, they're really important. And sometimes you have so many systems integrated on premise, let's say. So when I mean on premise, of course, I mean data centers, right?
What? So you don't have under the table, or
something like this, right? Sometimes it's not under the table, right? So you can't move it, right? And I think it's making sense, right? So sometimes the disadvantages of moving to some cloud, let's say, would be too many or too high, and you shouldn't move it, right? I think people shouldn't get the wrong impression of yes, everything is making sense to run in the cloud. Sometimes you really have use cases which are totally fine and totally making sense to keep on premise, if you, of course, already have the proper infrastructure, people, and environment and everything, right? So there is this big push, but this doesn't mean that everything will be in the cloud. I don't believe this, but maybe I'm going to be wrong, and in 10 years we're going to see that yes, everything will be there and no data centers will be here anymore, right?
Well, in the end, the cloud is just a different data center. But the problem is the shared resources, and of course.
Yeah, but right now we as a IT field, I would say we have trouble with expertise, right? There is not enough people, and it's for example, even large companies have trouble getting experienced people, and for a small company like for myself, right? We for example, there is a real problem getting someone who knows Postgres, right? And if you go into the cloud, you can swallow the tough pill and say, okay, I will have to pay more for a managed database, right? But all the people, well, not right now when 20,000 people got released from AWS, right? But now there are maybe more Postgres experts on the market. Yeah, but they can get those experts, right? They can manage the database for you. They can provide you the service that you might not be able to get. You might not be able to get those people who can tune your Postgres database, right? And stuff like that. So, right, we don't know what the future brings, but it might be that the future is really cloud, and that's simply because of the people. But maybe every small company will have a chat GPT, right, system, which will manage the database itself, and
which is running in cloud, of course.
So joking aside, I think this AI, let's say, trend will bring some benefit to a lot of, let's say, fields. Maybe not the one which some people have the impression. So it will not get us fired or whatever. It will not
Well,
like change uh, like
This year.
replace, let's say 90% of the people, right? I don't believe this will change,
Yeah.
right? But it will for sure bring benefits, and it will for sure take jobs from some sectors. This is what I believe. But to be honest, now coming back a bit to the question from Jenner, or statement like with the lack of people and so on, I'm going to say something now which would maybe it's a bit sensitive for some people, but I believe we don't have a lack of people, right? When it comes to working in the IT field, I think we have a lack of experienced people, or we have a lack of people which want to really work or really learn to do something. Because somehow I get the feeling that, so also looking into, let's say, my past experience and also present experience, I see people which they get some job, they get some position, whatever, and then they just slack off a lot. And it's okay to find a work-life balance, and it's totally making sense. I don't believe that you should like be workaholic or burned out all day. But I also believe that we should also give a bit of quality when it comes to the work which we do, right? But if like 60% of the work which is performed by, let's say, by people, right? It's too less or underperforming, and let's say you have like 40% which are really good performers, it's not enough, right? So I think the ratio of wasters, time wasters or slackers, where should compared to the ratio of performers, so good or normal performers. So I don't mean like rock stars or whatever, right? I think it's too big, yeah. And because of this, you end up with, yes, we need more people for this project, and we need to, because we need it to be done, and we have to do more, right? And in reality, I think there are a lot of people which are really not working in a good manner, okay, or not good enough manner, right? And I can see them slacking along on these projects for months or years or whatever, and then after some time they leave or they get fired because people got
But I
fed
think
up.
you're not saying different than journalists, right? I mean, doesn't matter what the reason is.
I think it is because I have the same feeling as you, right? And I think that in IT field especially, I think there are more people that slack off. For example, if you spoke with someone who is doing some economic stuff, right? And
that's it.
And that's it, my friends.
Sorry.
Okay,
let's continue naturally. That is okay. Whatever.
No. That's of course. I started to not agree with you, right? And you were immediately like, "Yeah, I'm out of here," right?
But I like it that you said like I stopped agreeing with you, but you started your sentence. It's the same.
So
I said the
yeah,
same.
so my internet dropped off for some reason. I don't know why. But so you were saying, because I lost you after Dushan said, and then you started discussing, and then I totally lost you. Sorry.
Yes. So what I imagine, right, that in the IT field we have a lot more slackers, for example, as we have, for example, in economics or stuff like that. But I think that's an effect of how, because on the economic side, right, or perhaps in different fields where there are more people which can do the job, you have to be more careful. You have to be more we will get someone else if you don't do the job, right? But in the case of IT, I really have a feeling that there is more risk involved, right? If I want to get a database expert, it's one way to say, okay, let's get someone who's not that experienced here, and let's make him learn the stuff and be able to do it, right? But you cannot really bet on that. just because of the percentage of people that will just come in, right, and sit on their butts and not
But
learn anything and do just the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah.
So you have to look for the expertise, right? At least from my point of view, we have a problem, right, with the database. We need someone who already knows that stuff, and we cannot bet on someone who will come and learn, right? Unless you know him, right? Or you are fairly sure that he will learn, right?
Ultimately, I think you're talking the same. So because Vali said that,
maybe.
okay, what's the reason of it? I mean, there are not too much people who actually cares about IT and try to tend with the progress in IT and do their passion about IT. There are a lot of people who just make their job and doesn't care. And but in the end, companies have to take them because there are no other guys.
And you don't know beforehand, right? And it's also that I really don't like the stuff that, okay, when you are going to the IT and you need to be an expert, it needs to be your passion. You need to learn outside of office hour, right?
Yeah.
But that's
so I
don't
also
know.
so
it's somehow
I agree with both of you from the point of view that somehow because of the lack of options for the companies to employ people, they end up employing people which are maybe not good at anything pretty much, but they agree on taking them on board and somehow train them on the job, right? This is also common or happens, right? It's also cheaper, and I also
it's also cheaper
somehow,
right?
so I also like agree that you shouldn't work after hours and you shouldn't give your life to some, let's say, project or company. Totally fine, right? But I also believe that we should also somehow take the, let's say, the profession, let's say, a bit, or how should I say it, more serious, right? Most of the time, and try to treat it a bit with more seriousness in order to also make the other people look at us more serious. Because let's say when you go to the doctor, for example, right? You don't expect him to somehow be a slacker, right? And you expect him when he does a checkup, right, to have a good eye for the details and really give you like a good answer, and you have some trust which you put into him, right, or her, right? So, but when and this is because one, he builds an image, right? He looks professional, or she, right? They look professional. They are somehow giving this impression of seriousness, smartness, and all this stuff, right? I think we should also try to do this more a bit, because I somehow, when you think, so I get the impression that a lot of people when they are thinking to IT, they're either like thinking, okay, gamers, whatever, they do some work, they do whatever, but you're not really sure what they do, right? It's like, okay, what kind of stuff do I don't know. And then you have the other guy, they're totally super smart. I don't understand like anything from what they do, right? But so I haven't met so many people like giving the feedback that when you see an IT guy, he's a professional. He looks like really something, or no, he looks like someone which, yeah, I get the impression that he's really professional and he can do the job amazing without any kind of, let's say, fighting around and so on, right? So yeah, so I still believe that we have to do something and somehow get a bit rid of this, let's say, slacking culture, or somehow, yeah, because I can also see it at my wife is working as a so like the head of a department, and she employs people, and yeah, she's trying to find people. So I know the struggles of this, of how hard it is to find good people and so on, right? But to be honest, it's I think it's a losing battle, as long as, let's say, the people which want to get employed are really putting some serious effort into it, right? Because yeah, you get employed now, you get fired after 3 months or after 1 month, or they quit after 1, 2, 3 months, right? So in the end, the company doesn't win. Also, that person doesn't win, right? Because it's nothing, right? So yeah, so it's a complicated topic. I know it's also a topic maybe which people don't like that much, right? Because it's somehow sensitive. Because you are going to ask yourself, but wait, you're also slacking, right? So like, how are you better than the other guy, right? So of course this is also like you have to treat it. I believe you should also be as honest as possible with yourself and with the other people, and somehow give out the best possible image of yourself to the outside, right? So of course we like, I believe all of us have multiple, let's say, faces or images to some extent, because when we communicate with other people and so on, so it's totally fine. But I believe if we try to remain as honest as possible and try to project this also on the outside, I think we will end up with the right feedback, or the best as, let's say, possible feedback from other people. We can learn what we have to maybe change or improve, and we can also, yeah, make other people also happy because they're happy with our work, and I think this is a way to go. Yeah, but somehow it's difficult. Yeah, somehow it's a topic which is always difficult. And when you see someone like Elon Musk going to Twitter and cutting off like 8,000 jobs because he was saying that this is just the fat, this was just the fat of the company. So maybe, so maybe he was right, maybe not. Yeah, so it's difficult, right? Or Google now, like,
Well, I'm quite sure that he wasn't right,
sure,
right? And
sure, but
if
it's,
he was right for the wrong reasons.
yeah,
But yeah, there is a lot of fat, right? And I agree with you, and I think maybe it will change, right? When the IT field gets older, and also the people in the field get a little bit older, right? I remember my first years in
sure,
job
yeah.
are quite different than they are now, right? And I'm also a different person, and I think that kind of growth a person needs to go over, right? And that's something that you gain with years of experience, right? Uh, and but I don't see it changing yet, because there are still, right, there are still a lot of people, a lot of new people going into the IT field, which I guess is good, right? Because it's an important field.
Sure.
But there are still a lot of new people, right? And they will need to go through the process and learn how to work, essentially, right?
Or
When I started working, I remember I had no to dos. I had no. I was unorganized, right? I didn't need to be organized because I was working on first line, and the tickets came and I did them and they went away, right? But the longer and the longer you work in IT, right, that
Sure,
you
yeah.
you have to get
I
some
think what,
skills.
yeah, sure, go.
but I mean, this is expected, right? You're gaining experience, you're gaining responsibility. More experienced, more responsibility come. Not just on IT, not on the technical level, but even in it was very interesting actually for me what you have said, Wally, that you need to be very sensitive or very careful about designing stuff with a matter of the regulations that might kick in. And together with this, what we are talking, with the lack of people, maybe lack of expertise in many areas, does it like put more pressure on you because you need to get at least you need to know what you're doing, even with for example, the law enforcement stuff, regulation stuff. Do you need? I mean, are you the person who need to know this stuff, or do you have a department you will send the papers and check it
Sure.
from your perspective
What
and
I
send me the
can
back
tell you
results?
for now, so I'm not sure about the, let's say, the best answer for this, but what I can tell you from my perspective is that, yeah, I also feel that it put pressures, so it's going to put pressure on you, right? Because you're going to feel somehow like, oh, but wait, I don't know how to do this, or I'm not sure about the process behind this, or how should I approach it, right? So it will put this kind of pressure on it, or on you as a person. But I believe you also win from this, because it's like you end up digging like like to find out the answer or the process or the, let's say, standard for it, and you end up learning something which like in the long run it will help you, right? So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there are people and there are teams dedicated for most of the topics, or at least the big ones, so you can approach them. But one of the big problems what I can see when working with corporations and so on is that because they are big, right? And the onboarding process is never a success for some reason. This wasn't mastered at all in any corporations from what I was working in, and somehow people onboarding, right? People onboarding is
You
always
mean people onboarding?
somehow messy,
Okay.
somehow
Yeah,
although there is some
you're totally
structure,
right.
it's never the one which is in reality, or it was never implemented or never updated, or somehow it never works like in the meaningful and productive way as it should. And because of this, when a topic is going to come to you, of course you have to do a lot of digging and pinging of people and interfaces and tools to get some sort of idea where you should go next. And if I feel that if you're not the type of guy which is, let's say, social and socially capable, you're going to end up
Yeah.
like locking yourself in or stopping at some point when you don't know what to do, right? But I find that the more, let's say, socially capable you are, so if you can discuss with people easy, or you can approach them without too much, let's say, fear, or somehow um, angst, how is like you're not afraid of talking to people, right? The most success you are going to have, because then you end up getting people to tell, yes, you have to go to this guy or to this department and go here, and they give you the links, and then you find out the whole. But this web of let's say of exploration, right? It's like a mind map, right? It's like a mind map which you have to build and you have to understand in order to be successful, right? So yeah, there are people like responsible for everything, but you have to find them, and then you have to, of course, get out of them the information which you actually need to do the task which you were assigned. Yeah. So yeah, sometimes it's easy, most of the times it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree with you.
Yes.
But it depends on the personality of the people, because if the pressure that is put on the people is taken as a leverage to in for future, it's a good way. I mean, I can
Yes.
accept the pressure and I will be better with it after I will fight it. I will be better in the future.
Yes.
Some of the people will just resist. I mean, said the. I mean,
Yes.
reroute the pressure to someone else. I would say to the partner or whatever. So that was my question, because I would expect that in a companies like yours,
Yes.
you're the IT architect, so you will take only responsible parts, because I would say it's too many, and you don't want to take
At
care
the
of the other regulations areas.
from what I can see, sorry for stopping a bit, it's like I'm not sure that it's really like clearly defined always, like, okay, you're going to do only this or only that, or let's stop here. This is not my job anymore. This is whatever, right? This is not my task, right? I'm not so
Mm-hmm.
sure,
Mm-hmm.
at least not for me, okay? Maybe after you have, let's say, some years of experience and you say this is making sense or not, uh, then of course it's something different. But until then, this is not going to be the case, right? So I'm sure that you always take much more than let's say you should, maybe, because you have to learn and you want to also prove yourself a bit that you're
Mm-hmm.
capable of doing the job, and uh, let's say, okay.
Yeah, I mean, this might be a wanted. This
And
might
that's
be
the way you learn,
yeah. I mean, this might be a wanted
right?
Yeah.
actually values from the guy who does the
Yes.
architecture, to get the big picture, right? To see
Yes.
beyond the borders of his job and connect these stuff and be able to at least route problems to correct persons, even solve them on his own. I mean, I can imagine that on this area it might be a valuable
it's
approach.
For sure not so. So I try to learn as much as possible and find the best way. And I also try to, let's say, make the best out of it also for myself, because to be honest, I have like some sort of how should I say, like a mentality. If I'm happy, like the company is also going to be happy, because they get, let's say, the best out of me, right? If I'm not happy and I feel somehow like pissed or whatever, I feel disappointed or angry with something, then they will get the worst part of me, or I will lose focus and interest and all this stuff, right? So yeah.
Well spoken.
This is kind of one of the approaches which I try to use. Yeah, of course, not always it's possible, right? Sometimes you really get pissed and you get angry because it's not going your way, let's say. But I guess most of the times you should keep an open mind and open, let's say, heart for the opinions and the feedback coming from other people. Yeah. Because I believe that on the long run, if you behave like an asshole or behave like a shit head, then of course you only have to lose. Yeah, you of course maybe win for a year or two, then in the long run, it's going to be a total failure. Yeah.
Okay, we have quite a lot a long hour that we recorded already, and I wanted to speak a little bit about your private stuff, if we can. Dusan, do you have anything against?
No, we can go.
Okay, so first of all, the most important question: join it, right? We jokingly pronounce it in a Slovak way. Like, for example, it's a whimsical way of saying join it as if it would be a Slovak word, right?
Yeah.
So then it's like join it and stuff like stuff like that. And we were curious, and since you are from Romania, how would you pronounce join it if it would be a Romanian word?
Yes.
That's actually the most critical question about this
yes,
whole
yes.
interview.
So you would actually you would say it, join it.
Join it.
Yeah,
Join
because
it.
J is J. So join it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have another possible pronunciation of Join It podcast. That's awesome. And the second question was, I know from a good source that you just bought 2 HomePods and planned to connect them to your Apple TV. I was one of the people that said it's not a good idea.
Don't
right?
do it.
Don't do it. But I might have been mistaken, because I've seen some reviews of HomePod 2 with the new Apple TV, and it seems quite good. So tell us about it. Do you already have it?
I don't have it yet because they haven't shipped yet.
Really?
It's today. They should be shipping, and I will test them out. Maybe we can have another talk after some time after I use them. But
I'd like to.
The idea is that I wanted to get rid of the current sound system, which was really it's quite a capable one. It was quite expensive when it was new, 2,500 euros. Yeah, so it's an expensive sound system. Yeah, but
especially if you're listening.
So you are downgrading.
If you're actually listening just the Romania AM radio on it, right? That's
yes. I was listening that was the only station. Yeah. And plus also the
there is only one station anyway, right?
Yeah,
so which one?
The Communist Party, that's the only one.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's a downgrade from the point of view of the sound, let's say capability, but I'm sure it's not a downgrade from the point of view of flexibility and, let's say, installation options. Because the old system also had a Blu-ray player and this kind of stuff, which I don't need. Like nobody well, nobody maybe except Dushan, well, like watches blue disc, so like any kind of Blu-ray now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so because of the Plex setup, which I now have, the NAS and everything, um,
Mhm.
it's just taking a lot of power, a lot of space, a lot of wires, and I don't want it. Yeah, it also has a huge remote, like the remote for that stuff. It's like the size of this bottle, for example. So I don't know if you can get a size.
That's like half a liter
It's a
bottle.
half a liter bottle, and it has
Okay.
It
its
weighs
own.
the same.
It's also heavy. It's also it also has an LCD and this kind of stuff. It's just
Mhm.
too much. Yeah, and it's
Mhm.
and plus now my son just takes the remote and just slams it on the other way of the room, and I'm sure it will die in a couple of weeks maximum. Yeah, so I tried something
So
simpler.
do you have a new? Yeah. So you have a new Apple TV?
I have the 4K one, yeah, so I don't have a new one. So I don't know what new means.
Okay.
New with a new CPU or what?
Recently
Yeah,
bought.
because since the 4K right was announced, there were like two or three refreshes. I'm not sure, and I think that for HomePod 2, if you wanna use Dolby Atmos, I'm not sure if the first 4K is capable of that.
To be honest, I don't know. But on the other side, to be honest, if the investment part is like, I don't know, 300 euros, let's say, to get the newest one, I don't feel it's such a big deal.
It's like 150 euros or
Okay.
so.
Because you can, so one of the big advantages of Apple stuff is that you can resell them quite well, and you will get back like a big chunk of the value from selling the old one. So yeah, I don't think it's such a big deal. Yeah, and I think I even have the bigger, like I think there were two options for the Apple TV, so I have the more expensive one if I remember correctly. So I will get back a good amount of money, so I don't consider it will be a big deal, yeah, even if I have to sell it. Yeah, so if I gain from the, let's say, from the installation positions and the flexibility, and it's okay, then it's okay, yeah. So
It's really amazing that we spoke for 50 minutes and we didn't talk about Apple or how you repaired stuff from Apple. Do you still do it?
no. So I just did it out of hobby because I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
But so I believe it's a huge pain to do it. Yeah, I changed.
Yeah.
I had the microscope and I changed stuff at the microscope level, and I changed like SMCs and capacitors and this kind of stuff. Right, the SMC was the most difficult to change because of the like big number of contact points. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't recommend doing this as a hobby anymore because one, it's getting harder and harder. You need a lot of schematics, you need a lot of time to invest to understand the schematics, and you need a lot of tools, yeah, and you need a dedicated space because you're not going to take the tools out of the bag each time and do your setup and put the microscope, and it's just too much effort, and the wins are too small, yeah, to some extent, in my opinion. So so no, I don't do this anymore. I try, if possible, if I can afford it, I just get the Apple Care, and if I have the device ending on the Apple Care, I sell it afterwards, and then that's it. Yeah.
What are you running right now? I know that you for a month. I think you ran on iPad, right?
Oh yes.
Remember in
the
Drive
iPad,
where you had the pencil?
the iPad is still here for my daughter. I have the MacBook Air for me. I have
the M1 one.
the Apple Air. I don't know which one. No, no. Yes,
but
yes,
you
yes.
have the Apple Silicon,
yes,
right?
Yeah, the MacBook is the one with the M1 chip.
Okay.
We have a couple of iPhones. Like I have an iPhone 13 Max. My wife has a 13 Max. My daughter has a 13 Pro. So my cat even has a 12. Uh, so, so we have a good number of Apple devices in the house, plus the watches, of course. So this is why going with the Apple stuff is making sense from the integration points of view. If something is really working nice, I think it's the integrations between or the communication between the devices. Yeah, the Mac OS itself, it's shit. It's they managed to fuck it up in thousand ways.
No more Apple Podcasts.
So the somehow the OS
It's still better than Windows. I'm sorry. I don't like the way
Yes.
it's going, right? But I still feel okay. It's still better than Windows.
And I will also get a Mac from work now. I will get an M2 Max or something like this. But the problem is that the OS itself, I think, gets the least amount of interest or love from the developers. Yeah, and this is really showing up. Right? There's a huge amount of bugs. So I have an ultra wide display now, and each time when I connect the MacBook, it keeps the display, so the resolution from the display itself, from its own internal display. I have to close it, log out, sign in again. This is just stupid.
Really?
Yes, this is just stupid.
Yeah, I've heard there are a lot of display
Yes.
issues on the M1 and also on the M2.
This is a
so,
4K display, ultra wide, 4000 something. I don't know the resolution, but it's like this is not a big deal. Yeah? This shouldn't be a problem. Right?
Yeah.
It's still a problem in Linux, but it's not a problem for everything else.
What?
Yeah, don't even get me started with the display setups on Linux. It's still a tragedy after all these years. Yeah, so
Yeah, it's not going.
No.
I always hoped that the X11 days and the Xorg days that it would be replaced, right? But it
Wayland,
doesn't look
it's still a
Wayland,
sensitive topic. Not everyone can do it,
Yeah.
want to do it, and I don't know.
and it has latency
Yes.
issues, right? So I already heard, okay, so perhaps we should try something different, right? Display manager. So yeah, it's a can of worms
Yes.
right now, and it's can of worms so for so many
Yes.
years, right? But it's a really difficult stuff to do.
Yes.
So
yes.
so
Yes. Yeah,
um,
I feel the same.
okay, we reached an hour.
It's perfect. It's my time to go then.
Yeah, but you should definitely come and visit us more. I think there are still a lot of things that we can talk about.
Yes, sure.
That would be interesting also from my point of view, right? Because I think those discussions are fun, and also from the listeners' perspective. So thank you very much.
Sure, and so I will try my best to join you guys.
But personally,
Of
and
course,
also
this
here
is-
in the podcast, I would say, right? It was
yes. So
interesting,
here and
interesting
here and
insight.
Yeah. Thanks. I will try to join you guys personally and also here. So thank you guys very much for the invite and for the discussions. Was really nice talking with you again. And of course, like for you and for everyone else which is listening, I guess always take this opinions of mine and like always with like a bit of
as a gospel, as a fact, right?
No, so you should always
you
take them with a
disagree,
grain
you
of
are
salt.
dumb.
Or, you should you should never take this too serious, right? But yeah.
Nah, it's a different, but because we are listening from experienced guys, right? Of course, this might be not fact, but I mean it's way different hearing the from somewhere else maybe who is not that experienced.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's we are trying to give our listeners the people who can say and stand for their words, and you're the guy.
So if I would wish to anyone, I wish that they take on the road of entering the IT field. I think it's such a huge field to explore, and I think they can have a much better life following on this kind of, let's say, trails than compared to many others. And I believe if they're interested and curious and in learning, let's say, technological stuff, they should do it.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid. Just do it. Try it. And don't be afraid of failure. I fail like pretty much all day. So it's totally fine. We learn something new. We go on.
And if you
okay.
will fail, just you record more kids videos and post them in Instagram. It will work as well.
Yes. Like 99% of my money come from cats videos. So it's okay.
Exactly. So guys, so it was Vali. Thank you very much. Toto bol Join It v angličtine. Nezľaknite sa, nemeníme sa úplne na anglicky hovoriaci podcast, ale môže sa to sem tam stať, pretože IT je proste také. Poznáte ľudí, ktorí hovoria po anglicky a sú z Rumunska, alebo hovoria po taliansky a sú z Poľska, alebo hociakým spôsobom, ale hovoríme IT rečou. Počujeme sa aj na budúce. Bol tu Joiner a bol tu Vali. Čaute.
See you guys, papa. Ciao.
Bye.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.